Good morning. Today we look at chapters 25 through 27 of 2nd Chronicles. And each of these chapters deals with a different king. We got Amaziah in 25. Now I can't turn my page. We got Uzziah in 26 and Jotham in 27. And Amaziah, it says, was 25 when he began his reign, reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem. And verse 2, I mean, he did what was right in the sight of the Lord, but not with a true heart. So he knew what he should do, and he tried to do the right thing, but he didn't do it in the right manner, and he didn't do it completely. The commandment is love your Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and all your mind. Well, he knew that, but he didn't act completely upon it. And he didn't listen to some advisors. So, but he came in, and the first thing he did was he killed the servants who had murdered his father. But he didn't kill any of their children because of the law. You shall not, injure the children because of the father's sins, or kill the children. So, I mean, he knew the law. And he acted partly on it, but, not completely. And he set, he got his army set up with the different commanders and leaders and everything, and found out how many he had. And then it says he hired 100,000 warriors from Israel for 100 talents of silver. And this was one of his indiscretions, one of the things that he did wrong, because Israel, the northern kingdom, was not in favor with God. I mean, the southern kingdom, Judah, Jerusalem, these kings, even though they knew what was right, and, like here I said, he didn't do it with his whole heart, they were still finding favor with God. God was still guiding them, leading them, encouraging them, trying to, he was with them and giving them power, strength, leadership when they listened and followed, and giving them second chances. I mean, every king that came in, it says, did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but then would have some indiscretion and would mess up. And how many of us don't do that? I mean, we all mess up. I mean, we do. But anyway, he hired these 100,000 troops from the northern kingdom. And this was a downfall because, as I said, they weren't following God. And so it was because of that, a man of God came to him, and so a prophet, someone who is, whether it was a priest or we don't really know, but a man of God came and said, "O king, do not let the army of Israel, northern kingdom, go with you. Rather go by yourself. Be strong in battle, or God will fling you down before the enemy." He says, if you go to battle with these soldiers who are out of favor with God, God isn't going to give you the victory. And so Amaziah listens, and, he says, well, what shall we do with this 100 talents I've given to the army? And the man says, the Lord will give you much more than this. Just count it as a loss, count it as money spent for a lesson learned, And, experience is the greatest teacher, we say. And, we've all paid for things we've regretted. And, it's, kind of count your costs and know what's going to happen ahead of time. But, we all learn lessons by the school of hard knocks. And, this was one of those deals. The king thought he was bolstering himself and doing good, but God said, no, that's not what we want to do. So he sent that army away, and of course, then they got mad. I mean, they got, and they did some raiding and caused some other problems. And they killed a bunch of people and took a bunch of booty. And then after Amaziah, this king who had let this army go, I mean, his his army was successful in what they went to do. However, again, didn't do what was really right, brought back some false gods and set them up and worshipped. And then the Lord was angry, sent a prophet to Amaziah. Earlier it was a man of God, now a prophet comes to Amaziah. So we see God's definite leadership and guidance. And the prophet says, why have you resorted to a people's gods that could not deliver them from your God? Why would you worship the gods of a people that you defeated? I mean, worship the God of gods, and of course, the king didn't like to hear that. He said, stop. Why would you want to be put to death? I don't want to hear these words. But, it just, and then this king, he challenges the king of Israel to a battle. And the king of Israel, the northern kingdom, doesn't want to do this. He says, well, why should we do this? But, it goes on, and Amaziah wouldn't let it go. And so Amaziah, the king of Judah, goes up against the king of Israel and is defeated. I mean, he's, it doesn't say how many years he'd been in, by this time or anything, but, it's just, he wasn't listening to the words of the prophets. He wasn't listening. He wasn't worshiping God, with a true heart. And, when I read that line in here where it says, yet not with a true heart, it made me think of the brief word of confession of sins. We have not loved God with our whole heart. We have not, loved our neighbor. But it is, I mean, how do we love God with our whole heart? And to listen and to follow, but yet we know we're going to sin. Chapter 26, King Uzziah, after Amaziah had died, the people lift this King Uzziah up, 16-year-old, to be their next king. And he rebuilds the temple and reigns, it says, for 52 years. He did what was right in the sight of the Lord, as his father Amaziah had done. Although Amaziah had discretions, and we just know that Uzziah, too, will have those indiscretions. He made war against Philistines. He broke down the walls, and it says God helped him against these other nations. Ammonites paid tribute to Uzziah. His fame spread. And this is just another one of the examples that we see of how the people are blessed by God when their king leads them. However, we'll read in here too that even though the king was loyal and faithful to God, the people always weren't. And of course, the people don't always follow the leader and do everything that the king says. Verse 16 in chapter 26, we have, Uzziah becomes strong. He grew proud to his destruction. For he was false to the Lord and entered the temple. What to do? He was going to burn incense himself. And even though he's the king, I mean, burning the incense, burning the sacrifices, this is the job of the priests, the Levites. The king can bring an offering, but to perform the act, no, is wrong. And so this is one of his indiscretions. And, at the end of his life, because of this indiscretion of coming in and going to burn the incense, he becomes leprous and is then banned, can't live with family or anything. He's on his own. Chapter 27 deals with Jotham, another 27 years old when he began to reigned 16 years. And it's, just another one of those deals, follows God, has problems. And just the way life is. And we do our best we try to do our best to listen to God, to follow God, to live as God would have us. But yet we know that we make mistakes, and we trust. We trust that when we come and ask God for help and forgiveness, that he accepts us back in. And we have that proof of God's love and grace in how these kings fall away, and yet God continues to reach out to them, encourage them, and bless them in so many different ways.